scourge of fraud negatively affects law-abiding citizens through a range of ways and scams that devastate people's hard-earned money, savings, and livelihood. From the 13th to the 19th of November, we commemorate Fraud Awareness Week by shining light on this societal problem while always doing radio, according to you. Stay tuned with KLR.
Right, 21 minutes now after 9 a.m. and time for us to check out moments in current affairs. Starting at the border, Public Works Minister Patricia de Lille said that the Defense Department was to blame for the delays in replacing the porous Bay Bridge border fence. De Lille landed in hot water in 2020 for the 37 million rand in wasteful expenditure on a makeshift fence to secure the border with Zimbabwe at the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. On Thursday, she told Parliament that more than a year since submitting successful bids for the replacement fence, the Department of Defense has still not come up with specifications for a proper secure border fence. Minister de Lille said that the Public Works Department would, in the future, only be responsible for the maintenance of the border fence. Appearing before the Select Committee on Petitions and Undertakings on Thursday, de Lille said that after 3 bids were submitted to the Department of Defense in July 2021, Minister Thandi Modise asked for more time to familiarize herself with the issues. She said, "We are patiently waiting on the Department of Defense to finalize with specifications." De Lille said that her department had learned its lesson in trying to secure only 40 kilometers of the border of Zimbabwe. There is a need to look at the complete borderline of South Africa, and that is why the SIU rulings and everything that went wrong with Bay Bridge, the Department of Public Works is not going to do patch-up work on certain areas of the border, but the best solution will be to go for a new borderline. De Lille said it would take years to build a new fence to secure the border with Zimbabwe. The Transnet Pension Fund secured a provisional sequestration order against the controversial businessman, the Gupta-linked Wood. Eric Wood in the Johannesburg High Court on Thursday. Wood is a former director of the Gupta-linked Regiment's capital. He is one of 9 accused in the 93 million rand corruption case involving Transnet locomotives deal. The Transnet Pension Fund said Wood owed them 111 million rand. The debt stemmed from transactions that Regiment's capital made on behalf of Wood. Wood was a director of Regiments when it secured lucrative consultancy contracts for the fund. Legal expert Mpumelelo Zgalala said that Thursday's provisional sequestration by the Johannesburg High Court meant that Woods would not trade using any of his assets. It basically means that you cannot do anything with properties like selling and transacting it to another person. Zigalala added that if Wood managed to settle the debt, he would not lose his personal assets by way of final sequestration order. There was a fatal stabbing at Mandla Nkosi High School in Tuzuma in Durban on Monday the 7th. KwaZulu-Natal Premier Nomusa Dube-Ncube paid a visit to the school on Thursday. KZN police spokesperson Lieutenant Nqobile Gwala said that a 21-year-old grade 12 learner was stabbed to death inside the school grounds. It is alleged that the grade 10 learner is the perpetrator. The police are looking for him and a case of murder is under investigation. We are really saddened by the situation that happened at the time while learners are supposed to be focusing on their exams during the term. We have spoken to learners. We will also be reaching out to the rest of the school and to communities just to make sure that children understand the value of life. According to reports, students carried the victim to the staff room after the incident and educators saw that he was bleeding badly. The principal drove him to the local clinic and before heading off to report the incident to the family and the police. When he returned from the police station, he learned that the victim had passed. If you asked a taxi driver why they hardly stick to the stipulated rules of the road, you'd probably not have enough time to hear all the reasons. Top of that list, however, will always be that they're doing it for their customers or the passengers. A series of videos on social media, however, show how passengers on a taxi trip in Soweto put their foot down and held the driver accountable. In the first video, a woman can be heard asking the driver to turn down the music and reduce his speed. The driver's reaction was to slow down to an extremely low speed, a response that angered the commuters. We have children. We complained about the speed and reckless driving, and you responded by driving at zero. At least drive 60 kilometers per hour and be reasonable because you're an adult. The passengers, mostly women, said to the driver. The third video shows the driver moving to the back seat of the minibus taxi. A female passenger takes over the wheel and continues to drive the taxi. While the passenger focuses on the business of driving, the rest of the passengers continue to scold him to show him the error of his ways. Meanwhile, Mzansi Magic has promised to lift the lid on the secret life of taxi bosses on a brand new reality called Imboni Yamategis. The show stars 4 taxi owners giving unprecedented front row access into their lives and what it's like to thrive in the industry. The show, which premiered on the 2nd of November, explores how they conduct business, their family dynamics, and how they stay safe while running their empires. Good luck to them on that one as well. The Democratic Alliance has filed a report with the Free State MEC of Cooperative Governance on Thursday, after they witnessed some troubling scenes during a council meeting in Letemeng municipality. According to the official opposition, a councillor was ejected merely for opposing the ANC. Witnesses at the scene state that the manner in which the councillor was removed was unacceptable. One observer noted that he did not disrupt the meeting and was even willing to withdraw the statement, which caused so much outrage. However, in a video seen, heavily-handed officials can be seen forcibly dragging the councillor away from the meeting. This despite attempting to resolve the situation in a more diplomatic manner. The video is really disturbing, by the way. Mariska Potgieter is a councillor in Letemeng municipality. She was shocked by what she saw. Even though it is alleged that similar incidents have occurred previously, Potgieter said she was threatened by the ANC members who saw her filming. The speaker is there to protect proceedings and should give all councillors an opportunity to represent the community and use their freedom of speech. When we started recording the incident as it became violent, ANC councillors shouted at us to stop recording. The video, Yona, it's disturbing. So you wouldn't be sure when and how the incident actually started visually. But I do not think that such physicality has a place within a political sphere or in a meeting where temperatures are elevated. It's 28 after 9 right now. Suspended public protector Busisiwe Mkhwebana may find herself homeless after her office announced that it will terminate the lease agreement in the luxurious duplex she is staying in. Mkhwebana has been living rent-free with the luxurious Brian Tyrion estate in Pretoria, which includes lavish residence for the president and cabinet ministers. Under normal circumstances, Mkhwebana would not have been allowed to live in the elite accommodation. However, after a dubious risk assessment following threats to her life, she was permitted to live in this luxurious estate. Despite her suspension, Mkhwebana has continued to enjoy free accommodation at taxpayer expense, to which she reportedly is not entitled. After she was suspended earlier this year, she relocated to another taxpayer-funded property, a luxurious 3-bedroom duplex adjacent to Brian Tyrion, for the Office of the Public Protector paid 11,000 Rand monthly to rent the Department of Works. The Office of the Public Protector has reportedly announced that it will terminate the lease agreement for this free accommodation, and if Mkhwebana wants to continue living in this Brian Tyrion luxurious ministerial estate, she will have to enter into a private lease agreement and pay for herself. The DA Shadow Minister for Finance, Dr. Dion George, said although their action has taken far too long, they welcome the development and encourage steps to be taken against Mkhwebana to hold her personally responsible for this wasteful expenditure. Allegations surfaced in the media 8 years ago about a rogue unit within the SA Revenue Services. The controversy plagued the top-rated senior SARS officials and led the number of court cases and inquiries. Now, the Constitutional Court has finally made a ruling against suspended Public Protector Busisiwe Mkhwebana that should put the saga to rest. On Thursday, November 10, the Constitutional Court banged the last nail in the coffin of the infamous discredited report into the SARS rogue unit, dismissing suspended Public Protector Busisiwe Mkhwebana's application for leave to appeal. The highest court in South Africa refused Mkhwebana's leave to appeal, concluded that it bears no reasonable prospects of success. The court ordered Mkhwebana and her office to jointly and severally pay for the legal costs of Minister Pravin Gordhan and former SARS Deputy Commissioner Ivan Pillay, who she implicated in wrongdoing linked to the establishment of SARS High-Risk Investigation Unit in her July 2019 report. It's not looking good for Umabusana Sheng. The Ekurhuleni municipality has established a task team to look into the allegations that waste workers have been blocked from collecting refuse. Aibo. Several areas across the city have not had their waste collected for over 2 weeks. Reinstated Mayor Tanya Campbell said that her absence played a role. 2 days after she regained her mayoral chain, Campbell's first major executive decision was to suspend the city's head of waste management, Faith Wachela. Her suspension is a result of an investigation launched by Campbell to get to the bottom of the waste crisis. Campbell said she visited the city's depots where waste removal workers told her they were being blocked by management from carrying out their duties. So where they are being blocked, it is another question. Also, why they're being blocked is another question that needs to be asked by me, and the task team will certainly be doing investigations for me, she said. Campbell is expected to assemble the new mayoral committee over the next few days. It's unclear whether all of her MMCs will be returning to their previous positions. Jonathan Kabazela Fairburn shares some of the videos that went viral on Twitter and Facebook. One of them, Jacob Yerkes, was interrogated by two police officers who responded to a call of him stalking a woman. Yerkes said that he worked with the lady for almost 6 months and had been trying to get into a relationship with her. In the video, Yerkes tries to downplay the fact that he was stalking the woman, saying that the women loved being chased. He also told Lenoir's police officers that the father of the woman had threatened to kill him over the phone if he continued to stalk her daughter. Aibo, dude, if all of this, why are you still persisting? I guess it has to take drastic measures for them to actually open their ears. A Zimbabwean businessman wanted by the country's authorities was arrested by Interpol and the SARS or the SAPS National Intervention Unit, the NIU, in Sandton, Johannesburg, after a red notice was issued. Frank Buyana Sadiki is wanted for kidnapping, robbery, and 3 counts of contempt of court. The charges emanate from an incident which took place in April 2020 in Zimbabwe, where the suspect kidnapped his next of kin and fled with him to South Africa. A warrant of arrest was issued by the Zimbabwean police, and it was followed by a red notice by Interpol in Harare. He was arrested on Thursday morning, and during an early morning raid, and appeared in Randburg Magistrates Court. He was remanded in custody and is expected to appear in the same court in the 17th of November for a formal bail application. According to News 24, the Zimbabwean businessman accused the South African Revenue Service of attempting to push his business out of South Africa in 2020 after he was hit by a raid of about 600 million rand in gold coins were seized. Chairperson of the Moral Regeneration Movement, Father Smangaliso Mkhatshwa, has added his voice to the growing calls for President Cyril Ramaphosa not to sign the Electoral Amendment Bill into law. In a letter addressed to Ramaphosa, the National Council of Provinces, leaders of the political parties represented in Parliament, business organizations, civil society, and organized labor, Mkhatshwa said the bill as it stands does not allow for a direct link between an independent state or independent candidate and their constituency. Mkhatshwa said the bill undermines independent candidates, a constitutional right to stand for public office, and if elected, hold public office without joining a political party. The proposed amendments do not attempt to and are contemptuous of the will of all South Africans. It violates the ruling of the Constitutional Court's judgment in the new national movement matter, and it was seized when it strongly, in its judgment, that a conscious choice not to join a formal political party is as much of a political choice as is the choice to form or join a political party, and it must be equally be deserving of protection. It makes sense on paper. But I guess some people are touched by it because, well, you know how that goes. And you know how that goes. Anyway, let's continue. Public Servants Association members who marched to the National Treasury in Pretoria yesterday say they are struggling at the government's 3% salary increase is insufficient to meet the rising cost of living. The PSA, which is about 235,000 members strong, is on a one-day stay away, demanding 6.5% increase, down from its original demand of 10%. After a deadlock, the negotiations, the government imposed a 3% increase and extended a 1,000 Rand monthly gratuity until the end of next year, March. Tembi Sibego, who says we can't afford our children's school fees, stationery, and transport. We have to buy uniform, and then there are other expenses at home. Petrol is expensive. We can't even afford to buy enough food anymore. The 3% is a big insult. Kanyisa Malgas said her salary is not enough to cover her basic needs. The 34-year-old single parent said, "I have 2 children, and it's hectic." As we continue, let's look further in this beautiful but sometimes troubled continent of Africa. Ugandan climate activist Vanessa Nakate on Thursday urged U.S. President Joe Biden to help those most affected by the ravages of global warming a day before his arrival in the UN climate talks in Egypt. Nakate, a goodwill ambassador for the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, urged Biden to listen to the climate science and for those on the front lines of this crisis. She also calls for fossil fuels to be phased out and funding to help vulnerable countries cope with accelerated climate impacts. The message for Biden to stand with the people on the planet and the coming generations. Nakate, who founded the Rise Up climate movement in her native Uganda, has become a prominent voice among the global young fighting for climate action and justice. Floods have also ripped through Nagane's own region, she said. When you look at all these crises, they are happening, they're just around your community. You have no choice but to come here and believe that another world is not necessary, but it's possible, she said. But she noted that Biden and other world leaders who have traveled to Egypt this week should understand that their positive actions also have positive things, potential that will echo through the lives of other people and possibly see people doing better and living better through protecting the environment. On that note, we come to the end of our first installation of our current affairs. More to come as we continue.
This is KNR.